is John Cavallone. John has done a number of things. One is to follow the immigrants from Sassano in Italy to the sort of near south side in Chicago. And he was able to uncover information, genealogical information about hundreds of people who made that migration, and combine that with other material that he put together. And he has 5 volumes this big of data on those families from Sassano. It's the most complete record I can think of the people from one particular town. And I'm really pleased to have with us. And John's other accomplishment is that he has created the covers for most of the books that Casa Italia has printed through Amazon. John Cavallone.
Thank you very much for coming out today. I want to give you a brief summary of everything that was talked about today and how it was put together in these packages. It's going to go really quick. I've written 6 books on Sassano in Chicago, Sassano, the town in Italy, and my great-grandfather on my father's side settled where the Robert Taylor homes were. So because the Robert Taylor homes was a large public housing project, the whole neighborhood that the Sassanese landed, settled in, was no longer. And that is one of the reasons why I decided to take on this venture in documenting not only my family, but every family that came from the town of Sassano and landed on Federal Street. Why do I do this? Why do I work on the Saving Our Stories project? Because a family member's life, an ancestor's life, is more than the 2 dates. Even if your family member, our family members, had simple jobs, they lived a marvelous life, and that life needs to be told. And the only people that can tell that story are those of us that are still here. It's our responsibility to write about our parents, write about our great-grandparents, do the research, and put that information out there. Because as Dominic said, if we're not the ones to do it, and time continually passes on, that information can be lost forever. So when I first started this 20 years ago, it was due to my oldest daughter, a class that she wanted, the teacher wanted to know who came to America and why. And growing up, I didn't pay attention to family stories. It was boring at the grandparents' house. Probably fell asleep when I should have been listening. But when I started this project, my aunt told me of all the relatives that I did not know that I had. And I went to visit those relatives. And they welcomed me with open arms. They had dinner with me, and they brought out the pictures. And lucky enough, 20 years ago, I had a table, a laptop, and a scanner the size of a laptop. And those scanners you could still get from Amazon for about $50. So you could fit both in a laptop bag and go to family members' houses and scan pictures that you probably never knew existed. And the thing that I wanted to do was not keep the information to myself. I wanted all my second cousins to have access to these. There's no one person that should maintain this historical record of your family. So I went to each family member's house. I scanned the pictures, put them in a particular folder. And then as time went on, I named either named the photographs, who was in the picture. I also took a Word document and put thumbnails of the picture in the Word document and described who was in the picture, their approximate age. And it helps when you've got little kids in the picture. You can determine when that picture was taken, and then determine anybody else who's in the picture, what their age is. I also document who I got the picture from, who holds the original pictures. Whether you're using a Windows PC or using a Mac PC, there's an information tab that you can put in the comments who also is in that picture. So when you're doing a search on your hard drive of the pictures, you not only have the name of the file, but if there's additional information in there, in the search results, they'll show up. Another part of my research is working together with other people that are doing research in the same town. When my great-grandfather's birth record was unable to be found in the town that he supposedly came from, I Googled Sassano genealogy. And within that result, Peter Barbella, who lives in the Massachusetts, the Boston area, he had started on the Sassano Project. And inquisitive as I was, I started asking him for church records that he had obtained in the town of Sassano. He found my interest in the project to be of interest to him because he was in the middle of indexing every document. He's like, "You want to join the club?" And of course I do. So Peter, myself, and Pasquale Sorello went through every Sassano birth, death, and marriage record, as well as church records that go back to the 1600s. And we documented everybody within those records. They're on Google Sheets. So if anybody Googles the Sassano Project or goes to my website, there are links to these spreadsheets, which will help you put together not only your pedigree going back, but you can easily find out other people that are maybe 7th, 8th cousins of yours. So I'm in the process of putting together all that data in one big Sassano Chicago family tree. It's currently about 31,000 people. My focus is primarily on Chicago, on the 85 families that came to Chicago. In addition to writing the books, another idea is to put a website up. And you could do a free website. Google allows you to do their sites.google.com if you have a Gmail account, and you could register a domain name. Mine is sassanochicago.org. And again, I've got hyperlinks to all the research that I've done, as well as listing the 85 families that settled on Federal Street, which this is part of the list. Also documented where they were married, whether they were married in Chicago, Sassano. And this, again, is using all the information that Dan spoke of. Dan is one of my early mentors. The talk that he gave in 2005 here, I attended, and I have followed him through his career, and I appreciate the work that he's put into this, because if it wasn't for him and it wasn't for several family members, the research that I've done would not exist. So thank you very much, Dan. I greatly appreciate your effort. So when I talked about putting this big family tree together, what you can find is not only is my great-grandfather and great-grandmother husband and wife, but they're also first cousins once removed. In the smaller towns of Italy, you can find that they may or may not know they could be second, third cousins very often. Also, the stories of my great-grandfather or my grandfather and a Joe Stavola of Federal Street, they were best friends, but they were also fourth cousins. They may or may not have known that fact. The latest book that I just published yesterday, I decided to dig deep into the warranty deeds and the real estate torrents, because again, the houses don't exist anymore on Federal Street. None of them do. The census records are every 10 years. So what happened in between those 10 years? So I asked Kim at ChicagoAncestry.com if she can help me out. She knows the real estate recorder of deeds office very well, and it would probably have taken me 10 times as long. And she had acquired all the real estate torrents for Federal Street between 47th Street and 51st. And with those, I was able to obtain the documents of the actual real estate transactions, the warranty deeds that gave details of that transaction, how much they paid for the houses, so on.
Excuse me, what was her
It should be in the paperwork, I hope. If not, it's Kim at ChicagoAncestry.com.
Thank you. I don't see it.
Kim at ChicagoAncestry.com.
Thank you.
There are also ways to obtain what the 80-acre maps. So this is Federal Street from 47th to 51st. This information is online, and you'll have to email me so I can send you the information on where you can find your information. But what I did was I plotted out where all the Sassanese lived on what houses based on census records and the real estate torrents. And then when the Robert Taylor Homes was built and pushed the Sassanese throughout southwest towns of or southwest areas of Chicago, the Chicago neighborhoods. I also I have a fairly large presence on Find a Grave. I try to document where all the Sassanese and their families are buried in Chicago cemeteries. And again, this is another part of my interest, because if we don't take care of the graves, and I know it's a big task, but the flat stones, that flat stone is 3 inches below the grass level. I had to actually dig it out. We can lose our history. I firmly believe everybody, including the babies, need to be remembered. In my research, I've looked for every single family member, whether it was a young adult that maybe didn't get married, or every child that may have passed away within a year, couple months of birth. I want every soul to be remembered. I'm also involved with Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and get the other one. But anyway, I've by using the DNA, it has one made other family members jump on board, and it's interesting to see who gets what DNA from mother, father, or so on and so forth when you get a big group of family members to do this. And it also can bring family members that may have been adopted, that want to know who their parents and who their family is. I've got one story in particular that touches my heart. A woman, a second cousin, had been searching for her birth parents her whole life. She was near 60 years old when she found me on Ancestry DNA, and she asked for my help to try to figure out who her parents, her birth parents were. And because I did this work, I was able to pinpoint who her parents were. Her parents were still alive. They're still alive today. And she met them, and it was like they were never separated. So another reason why I do the work that I do is for stories like that, to help others out. So that concludes today's talk. I've been invited back November 5th, right here, to get into the details of the whole project, of the books that I've written, and the discoveries that I've made. So if you want to learn more about the Sassano Chicago experience, I welcome you to come back on November 5th. Yes.
You know, like my dad, there was 11 kids in my dad's family.
Mhm.
He can't find his sisters anymore at Mount Carmel. 3 of them passed away before he was born.
Mhm.
Because the other family, grandma and grandpa, didn't have no money. So they said
They-
they were gonna bury them by their place. Well, there was a big tree. Now the 2 babies, one was 3, I think my dad said, and the other aunt I never met them. Because they were over 100, but we can't find them because they could have been the other family. It used to be in the wall.
Right.
In the mausoleums.
There should be a record in the cemetery.
They moved them.
The cemetery doesn't know where they've been moved to.
Because what they did in the olden days, I don't know about your families, but they would call
The temporary graves?
Yes.
Yes, the 25-year temporary.
Because they were also, when one baby died, they named the next baby the same name.
Yes. Mhm.
And then the next child came, if it was a boy, they changed names. So I had told Ann, Stephen, the kids down, we can't find them. And Dad went to go tell them because it was somebody else's grave.
Yeah,
So what we're trying to do is trying to find them and then put them with the grandma.
right.
But you're talking about the names. My last name is with an actual I.
Mhm.
My grandpa was either 19 or 20 kids.
Mhm.
One was a W, one's a T, one's an I, one's a J. My father got the Y, and I'm going, where's my heritage?
Yeah.
But like I said, I found my cousin started the family tree, but you go back to Italy, and it's because of the Italian I, because there's no Y, there's nothing in the alphabet.
Mhm.
But what the town they said it was in, the crest, like my cousin took a picture of it. We have it listed, but it's in Italian, so I'm gonna try to get it for my cousin and bring it here.
Okay.
And I'll kind of scan it to you, if I can email it
Yeah.
to you also.
Okay.
Because it's something phenomenal.
Yeah.
My purple is, go in, there's a kiosk there, and you can put in the name, and then they give you the line, black, gray site, and then you can actually printing it out.
Mhm.
And the date they were buried, does not get printed out. So you have to make sure when you're making your notes, that you put your print, the date right in it.
We done that 45 times. My dad wanted to go yesterday, so I brought him to the kiosk before I came here. And I also helped that guy see something. Can't find it. You go there was a big tree here. Now there's a monument. So I don't know if they've done the what. We don't know. Because, in other words, my dad would go back by his, and I'm like, no, we're good. He's okay with it. I mean, somewhere in there, his 2 sisters, his 3 sisters are buried there, but his mom and dad is easy to get to. They're at the Mount Carmel side. And then you go across street to the Carlos side, so it's like.
And if you get to the cemetery and you don't like when there's grand, she's over the grave.
Yeah.
You call the office and tell them you want to.
Yeah. Right, right,
So,
yeah. Yes,
Do you know the story of how this woman came to be adopted?
yes, I do.
Is that shareable?
I would leave that up to her if I can get her to attend the November 5th, which she said that she would like do a Zoom in, if she discloses
Yeah,
that.
because some of the stories are very interesting.
Mhm. I've all the information came out. What I publish publicly is all the good stuff. I keep stuff that people want private, I leave it private.
Well, when you do ancestry, they tell you, they warn you before you ever send in the DNA.
Yeah.
That you may find things
Yeah.
that you're not interested in finding, and so
Yeah.
stuff pops up.
I have a cousin. I have how do I phrase this? A cousin that was adopted into our family.
Okay.
And for years, she was hesitant because of the fear of finding out or not being accepted. I did her DNA and I found her mother's side of the family. They welcomed her with open arms. But the mom is hesitant. But this adopted into the family cousin and the mom, they're twins. They look identical. The father, we're still trying to find out who her father is, but yeah, I found a lot using the DNA information. I'll get to, I saw another hand up in the back. Yes,
Okay. Like Fred, audio, those pictures, videos. In other words, when somebody's gonna look at it, also there's a song that were available, live, and I also wanted to see the movies.
we
I
can
might have worked in the yard.
work on that off. We can work, yes, that's doable. We can work on that offline. Yes.
Okay.
Wait,
Wait, the cousin that when she found both her parents, were they together? Or
no, they were divorced.
Oh, they had been.
They were, yes, they had other children together.
So she was born and they got.
She was born, she was adopted, they had more children, so the second child, who thought she was the oldest, was no longer the oldest.
Okay, John, thank you very much, John. And we look forward to November 4th, November 5th. Keep that, come back again. Also, one other resource for Italian American studies is Loyola. Unfortunately, Professor Carlos Bonini was unable to be with us today, or she would have given you a short description of the resources available through Loyola. So keep on trucking, keep on saving our stories. Thank you very much. Presentation.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to go?